Hello world, Shelly here, and it's time for another episode of Foundation Fest. And today I've got the much anticipated release from Selena Gomez. This is Rare Beauty. The Liquid Touch Weightless Foundation retails for $29 for 1 ounce or 30 mils of product. It's currently getting 4.1 out of 5 stars with 527 reviews on Sephora's website. It is described as a weightless foundation with concentrated pigments that feels barely there while providing buildable medium to full coverage with a natural finish. Described for normal, dry, combo, and oily skin. There are lots of ingredient callouts for things it does not have. No mineral oil, no formaldehyde releasing agents, no parabens, no sulfates, SLS, SLES. No, there's a whole lot of stuff on this list. It also has less than 1% of synthetic fragrances, is also cruelty-free and vegan. They say this features a convenient doe foot applicator, delivers pure pigments packed in a serum-like base, making it easy to blend and build coverage while evening out skin tone and hiding the look of pores. No clogging, no caking. It's got a botanical blend of lotus, gardenia, and water lily, calms and nourishes the skin for comfortable wear in 48 different shades. For dry skin, it is recommended to moisturize and then follow with their always-on Optimist Primer for best results. I have moisturized, and I do have the Rare Beauty Primer as well. We'll talk about that in a second. I've got this in the shade 160C, which is the shade that came up when I put in Estee Lauder Double Wear Stay in Place in 1C1 Cool Bone as a comparison in the Sephora Shade Finder, and it's described as light with cool pink undertones. This is what I would call my summer shade, even though I pretty much have no color left from summer, so it might be a little too dark for me now. But that is what I went for. Let's take a look at this one, swatched against a few others in my collection. You know the drill. On Fridays we swatch. First up is today's foundation from Rare Beauty, the Liquid Touch Weightless Foundation in shade 160C. Second, I've got the Estee Lauder Double Wear Stay in Place in 1C1 Cool Bone. Third up is from Dior, the Forever Skin Glow Foundation in shade 1CR. Fourth, I've got from MAC, this is the Studio Sculpt in shade NW10. And last, I've got the CYO Life Proof in 101. I've already cleansed, moisturized, and sunscreened this 45-year-old face. I have the Rare Beauty Always an Optimist Primer. This one retails for $26, 0.94 ounces or 28 mils of product. And I've already got it on. It's the kind of primer that illuminates by putting down little glitter shimmers onto your skin. Unfortunately, for my preference, I don't think this is the most flattering kind of an illuminating primer for maturing skin, and there's a couple reasons for that. So it puts down all the little glitters, and that's what gives you the illumination. But since it's a physical product sitting on top of the skin giving you that illumination, when you put your foundation over it, I don't think it's very effective because it gets covered up. I would prefer a primer that has a consistency or a formula that's going to actually mix with my foundation and provide more luminance to whatever foundation I'm putting on. I just don't think glitter is super attractive as a primer. So I would not recommend this primer. It feels nice, it feels lightweight, it's kind of a dry primer. Like, I don't have any sort of tacky feeling after applying it. I prefer a primer that gives you a little bit of a tacky feeling because I feel like it grips onto the foundation a little bit better. So this one is just missing the mark on my personal preferences. That's not to say it's a bad product. It is just not the kind of primer I would recommend for maturing skin, at least. I've got a dampened Yensa sponge. We will do this on one side. I have a Yensa brush for the other side. We'll see if this applies better one way or the other. Here is the doe foot. You guys, when I woke up this morning, I had the most massive pillow lines through the side of my face and the side of my eye. I've been up for over 3 hours now and I still can see those marks. So if you're seeing that on the side of my face, I was unconscious, y'all. This is blending out easily. It has pretty solid coverage right off the bat. It is clinging just a little bit to some dry skin on my upper lip and on my nose that I really thought was resolved, but this foundation did manage to find all of the little edges of that dry skin, so that is a thing. But coverage-wise, I think it's doing a really nice job of canceling out the redness on my cheeks, for example. It's still got a little bit showing through on my chin, but that's just the story of my life. Let's try the brush side. I'm noticing a little bit of a scent to this, and it doesn't smell like anything. It almost smells like, you know, I don't want to say plastic because it's not that strong, but it's kind of just a chemical scent. It just doesn't smell like anything, but it has a scent to it. I think I'm preferring how this looks with the sponge. I'm having a little bit of trouble with it just looking on my cheeks like it's sitting on top of the skin. Like I see little redness and veins popping through on my cheek the way it has settled with the brush. It's not giving me as full of coverage because I feel like it's not adhering quite properly. Maybe the sponge is, you know, the dampness is helping to sort of melt it all together. On the upside, shade-wise, I think this actually might be my winter shade. I don't think it is too dark for me. In fact, it might be a smidge too light this time of year. My neck here has a tiny bit of color to it, but half a shade maybe. So yes, this is, considering this is up the range from the fairest of the fair, I think if you have more fair skin than me, you may find a match here, which is a nice thing. I'm going to try to build this up. They say it's buildable, and I need to fix this side because it just doesn't look very good on this whole part of my cheek. And I'll just try to get a little more coverage where my sunspots are, and a little dabby dab for the old chin. Let's use the sponge because I'm not super thrilled on how the brush looks. A little does go a long way with this foundation, which is nice. And with the doe foot, you definitely can control how much product you are putting in any one place, which is nice. I'm not a huge fan of a doe foot for a foundation, but I love a pump, but it's okay. It seems to build fine in terms of the texture, but I don't think the coverage has really increased. I can still see the one sunspot that I like to cover up peeking through as much as it was before I tried to build it up. It's not really changing much on this side either. So while they say it's buildable, I don't think there's any problem with adding more product. I just don't think any more product is helping, if that makes sense. All right, this seems to be where we're at. This is just, I just feel like I've got little spots that are missing product. Like it's not adhering to the skin. Let's zoom in and take a look. As expected, I don't see any of the glitter from the primer because the foundation has covered it up, but I also don't see any luminance. I don't see any reflect. You know, it's supposed to be illuminating, and I really don't see it anymore because the foundation covered it up. The foundation itself, they call it a natural finish, and I think that that is natural under the definition of, you know, semi-matte. It doesn't really have any reflectivity to it at all. It looks like a sort of a flat, non-reflective appearance to it. It is not doing my pores any favors. I can see them all, and in a few cases, especially on the brush side, it is sinking in and giving me a little bit of polka dot pores already. It's clinging to the dry skin on my nose especially. It's not really It's not my favorite look. It looks like it's sitting on top of the skin in quite a few places. I don't feel like it's got any radiance or luminance to it, which seems to defeat the purpose of the primer. Yeah, let's see if I can put my whole face on and get this one looking a little bit better. It is 1:58 p.m. Let's call it 2 o'clock, and I'm gonna go put the rest of my face on. I will be right back. Okay, back with the Rare Beauty foundation. I did not set this with powder because it did seem to set itself down, and I didn't want it to look any more dry than it already does. I'm getting that like look of drag lines on my skin. Like I just really feel like it looks dry. It doesn't feel dry. You know, I don't feel dehydrated, but I look really dry up close. You can just see it on the skin, and you can see edges of any dry patches. I'm really not a fan of this one at all. We will see. Sometimes foundations need some time to warm up to your skin. We'll see how that goes. But on the rest of my face, I've got for bronzer the Charlotte Tilbury. This is the Airbrush Bronzer. This is in shade 2. I've got the Hourglass Ambient Blush in Diffused Heat. Why don't I own more of these blushes? They're freaking beautiful. I don't know why I don't. My highlight is the Natasha Denona Super Glow. This is in the second shade, the medium shade, as opposed to the fair shade. It is beautiful. I like the fair shade better, but when I have a little bit of color, I like to go with the summertime. My eyes are my first run with the Natasha Denona Glam palette. It's gorgeous, you guys. As anticipated, mascara is the Pat McGrath Dark Star, and my lip is the Lancome Absolute Lacquer in, it's a number. What is the number? I looked at it. It's really hard to see these. 308 is the shade on this one. So, oh, and I want to tell you guys, if you are a Beauty Pie subscriber, I'm trying for the first time one of their perfumes. It is the Mandarin Leaf, White Cedar, and Freesia, and it's a shapeshifter in the most amazing way. I am absolutely loving it. It's not a heavy musk, but it's a little bit musky. It's not a perfumey floral, but it's a little bit floral. And then it's got this hint of orange that just comes out of nowhere. So sometimes you feel like it's a really light, fresh scent. Sometimes you catch the woody cedar notes under it. And then every so often just like, ooh, that's a little zing of orange in there. It's really an interesting scent, and I'm thoroughly enjoying it. It's, applying makeup has been like, ooh, oranges, like, ooh, cedar. It's been good. I'm having fun over here. All right, so I'll be back in a bit with a daylight check-in. We'll see how this one looks outside, and then I will come back tonight, and we'll see how it wore. All right, here is the outdoor lighting color match on this one. It's been raining all day today, so you might even be able to hear it, but we have the remnants of Sally here. So I'm standing in my garage. I think this definitely could work as a winter shade for me. I do like the shade match. Unfortunately, I just gotta look in the mirror. Nothing has really changed in terms of just the look of it being on top of the skin. You don't notice it as much at a distance, but yeah, that said, their claim that it feels lightweight is definitely true. It feels like nothing. And it doesn't feel as dry as it looks. Like, my skin still feels quite nice. Alright, there's where we're at. It's been about 3 hours now, so I will come back this evening and we'll see where we end up. 12:24 a.m. That puts us around 10 and a half almost-ish hours. Let's take a look at how the Rare Beauty foundation held up. Actually, first, it's really annoying when brands don't put the labels of the product names on the product. e.l.f. used to do this constantly. Now they only do it sometimes. They're starting to get better at it. But this just says Rare Beauty. Now, on the label on the bottom, it's got a little bit of information. It has the shade, it says foundation, but it doesn't say the name of this foundation. And as soon as I throw this box away, I'm not going to remember that this is called Liquid Touch Weightless Foundation. It's really annoying to me when they can't put the name of the product on this. And I have a feeling I'm a little cranky tonight, so take all of this with a grain of cranky salt. This packaging is plastic. The lettering on here is the kind that's going to wear away just by holding it a lot. That I'm not impressed with that. Okay, that's a total tangent. Let's get back to how it actually wore. It's definitely comfortable. Their claim of it feeling weightless is absolutely true. It feels like absolutely nothing on the skin, which is good. I wish it looked better. It really never glued back together. The flaky outlines never went away. It looks about the same as it did when I applied it, except I'm losing coverage now. And on the upside, it stayed in place pretty well. Like, I would say this is a fairly graceful degradation over a 10+ hour time period. And I had to full on blow my nose like 3 or 4 times today. Hello, September allergies. Love you. Love you. I try to never blow my nose when I'm doing foundation reviews, but it was hardcore and it was necessary. And, you know, I am missing coverage on my nostrils, but I don't feel like it looks like I'm missing any more coverage than I would any other day that I didn't blow my nose. So that's a good thing. I think it holds up pretty well over time. It doesn't change the fact that I don't like how it looks. I didn't like how it looked when I applied it. It didn't really get any better throughout the day. It did hold blush bronzer highlight intact fairly well. I will say though that as the foundation is sort of dissipating, this glittery primer is starting to just show up as glitter on my face. And it's just not a good look. So I definitely do not recommend this primer if you don't like glittery primers. You know, if that's your jam, go for it. I don't think it has any problems otherwise, but it's just not a good look on me anyway. So there's that. Let's zoom in and take a look up close. The coverage on my nose, like I said, it's missing coverage, but I full on blew my nose several times. So I'm actually going to say that's pretty good in terms of how it wore away. It did bunch up on my upper lip, and coverage has been disappearing and gunking up just a little bit into my wrinkles at the lower corners of my mouth and on my chin. My nose is having a little bit of polka dot pores. This never did favors for my pores, really. It's not a very good pore smoothing foundation. I don't think it does any favors for texture either. My texture just is very visible, and I have those sort of drag lines when my face moves, and that doesn't always happen. So I think there are foundations that handle that a bit better. It's clinging to dry skin a little bit between my eyebrows as well. At this point in the evening, I feel like it is a little bit more luminous than it was. Like, I feel like I've got some natural oils coming through on my forehead, but also when I look up close, I see all of the little glitter specks from the primer on my forehead. So maybe that's what's giving it the luminous look. I'm not a fan of that really at all. Oh, goodness gracious. If I had to give a grade, this is like one of the most disappointing grades I've ever had to give, I feel like, to the Rare Beauty what's the name of it again? I need the box because I can't remember it. The Liquid Touch Weightless Foundation. I have to unfortunately go with a D. I think for my concerns, dry skin, maturing skin, it's below average. I don't think it's a lost cause. It's not one that I'm likely to wear again unless I really have no flaking going on, and that's never. I've always got a little bit of flaking going on. This here is the least amount of flaking I have all year round because it's the most humid time of the year when my skin is the least dry. So if you're in the same boat with any of the issues that I have had, I think you should probably try to get a sample first. I don't think you can get samples right now with the pandemic and all of that going on. I don't think Sephora will give them to you. But if you can get a sample of it through, you know, the purchase perks, things like that, try it. I can't wholeheartedly recommend it, unfortunately. It's a D in my book. There you have it. Another episode of Foundation Fest in the books. If you enjoy foundation reviews, if you liked this one, if you're sad along with me, give me a thumbs up down below. Check out geekoutofwater.com. Click the Foundation Fest link. I have a ranked, sortable, searchable spreadsheet of 200 plus foundation reviews. I put the links to the reviews, all the data in their scores, their grades, all in that spreadsheet. Swipe that thing. There's a ton of information in there. And as always, thanks a lot for taking some time out of your day to geek out over makeup with me. Come back every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 9 p.m. Eastern time for new videos. I appreciate your time, and I hope you guys all have an awesome day or night wherever you are in the world. Take care of each other. Bye-bye.